Welcome back to Connor Orchards. Today I'm going to show you a little trick I do. We have a lot of apples, so I'm always trying to find different things to do with them. I do use a lot of apple cider vinegar. I'll can with it. I make it in my salads. There's all sorts of uses. You can actually wash your hair for a rinse with it. So I've started kind of making my own. I have a couple jars in the back already on the go. This morning I was making some apple butter, getting it processed. It's on the stove, cooking down right now before I get it into the crock pot. So I have a whole bunch of scraps. So these are the peelings and the cores that are left over. When I do my processing, I'm making sure the apples are clean. If I'm saving my cores and my peelings to make apple cider vinegar, I want to make sure I don't get any that have got bug bites or that were bruised or bad. That way none of that goes into your vinegar. The vinegar I make, I can't check the acidity, so I only use it for salads and hair washing. I will not can with it. But I do enough salads with apple cider vinegar. I figure this alone is well worth it. I'll go through a couple of jars in a year. Well, four this size. I have some big ones in back. So whatever you do, if you're making yours at home, great. It's good for salad dressings. But don't can it unless you have a way to test your acidity, because it needs to be very specific. So that's my one kind of warning on that. All right, so you can use your scraps. This is the apple peel and your apple cores. I like putting the peels on the bottom. I've got two different jars here. A lot of times I'll use these smaller lids just to, then I can use my apple cores to hold it down. I'm notorious for overfilling my jars. You want to make sure it's only 2/3 full. That does not sound like much, but you got to make sure your water level is where it needs to be. So I'm just going to shove a bunch of this into here, and eventually I'll find an end. Whoop, there it is. And then I'll put a bunch of the cores in there too. And push that down a bit, a little bit more, and you can break these off, whatever you need to do. I'm already going to start to overfill it, so I need to stop. I'm going to put a few of these in just to hold it in place. You can also use fermenting weights. I have some, but they're all occupied right now. They're all in use, so I will not use those. But I have found that if I shove the cores around, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, that will help hold it into place. All right, once your jar is about 2/3 full, I grab some filtered water. We're on city water here, so I really don't want the chlorine in it. And you're going to fill this up. This is really simple. And make sure you've got a good inch over the top of that fruit. But you can see none of it floated up because I used those cores to pack it and hold it into place. Then you're going to get a piece of cheesecloth or something else that's breathable to cover this. This time of year, fruit flies aren't too bad, but you also want to keep dust and dirt out of it. You can put a cheesecloth and then just use the ring to tighten it down. Once this is done, I'm going to shake it a little, there's a few bubbles coming up. You want to put this into a warm place for 2 to 3 weeks. Our house is not overly warm in the winter, so I usually go for at least 3 weeks. Once that is done, you're going to strain out the apple cores and the peelings, and then transfer your liquid to another jar. And then you're going to let that jar sit for 4 to 6 more weeks. So this is your first fermentation. Once you strain everything out, that will be your second fermentation. You want to keep an eye on this every 2 to 3 days. Check to make sure the water is over the top of the apples. If it's not, it can start molding on you, so you really want to watch that. Once it's done, lid it up, put it into a dark spot, and you have apple cider vinegar. I have had a jar of apple cider vinegar because it got pushed to the back for a couple years. It's vinegar. It lasts a long time. I hope this was helpful. Gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can do with all those apple peelings. We don't have chickens. The neighbors do. But if you don't have something to feed all these to, that's a good way to use it up. And then you actually have the base for one of your salad dressings. Hope this was helpful. Join us again. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We put lots of recipes on Instagram. We put a recipe every month in our newsletter. So if you want to see what's really going on around here, follow our newsletter as well. All right, thank you.